What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaz Pearson, and this is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camello. What up, Chris?
Fly, Eagles,
No,
fly.
no, 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 no. I'm gonna cut you off right now. Off top, we not doing no fly, eagle, fly, no nothing. Man, look, these Eagles, they won a good game. Beat these Chiefs pretty bad. Chiefs are not my team, but I lost a little bit of money. I
Hey,
took the over. I did take the over. I got the over, but
hold
man.
on, hold on. Before we continue, I was on this show last week with you and our special guest, Kevin Klein. And what did I tell you about the Eagles? Don't sleep on them. I said they had to establish the pass game early. Jalen Hurts did that. What a game for Devontae Smith. What a game for Dallas
Well,
Goedert. What a game for
let me
A.J. Brown. Philadelphia came to play. So I
look.
want it to be known, I was the only one on this show who said, look out for the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I was proven right. I didn't think they would be up 40-6, but I was proven right.
We got a live great show for you guys this week. I know we got starting off with some Super Bowl talk, but we got a good show. Joel Embiid losing support in Philly. We also got Luka Doncic making his Laker debut and suffering his first loss as a Laker as well. And is Dallas, are they really going to bounce back after the rough week that they had? We'll get into all that. But obviously, thank you guys for tapping in with us on the outlet form this edition prior to the All-Star break. All-Star break coming up this weekend. Chris, I know that Super Bowl game was not what we thought it was going to be. You did not look. Just to keep it honest, keep it real for me. One sec. You didn't see the Eagles blowing out the Chiefs. Even if you
No,
thought the
of
Eagles were
course
going to
not.
win, you
Yeah.
didn't see them up 34 nothing at any point in the game, right?
No, absolutely not. I don't think anyone did. I mean, not even Vegas did. This was what, a point and a half? 2 points coming into
At one point, it
last
was almost a
Sunday?
pick 'em.
Yeah, it basically was a pick 'em. So, I mean, look, I thought the Eagles were going to find a way to be effective early. Here was the difference, though. Unlike 2 years ago, they never let up. They were bringing the pressure. They were bringing the pressure. And Chaz, they were bringing the pressure. And you know what's funny? This probably was Saquon Barkley's worst game of the season as a member of the Eagles. And they still were able to dominate the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's not easy to do. Chiefs were 15-2. Yes, this may not have been their most talented team, but you know what? They were still 15-2, and this was the year of finding ways to win. And they just did not look good. They were dominated from the onset, and they just never got any feel for the game going. Mahomes was under pressure. This was very similar to, excuse me, to the beatdown that the Chiefs got at the hands of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3 years ago. Very
Like,
similar.
yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to go into the whole breakdown of the game. I don't really give a shit. No one cares enough to break it down like that. The Eagles were the best team all playoffs. The Rams actually gave them the toughest game, and they're the champs. So
Yeah.
Chiefs got to come out and they got to make it right. But I think Patrick Mahomes will be motivated for next year. But speaking of champions, the Lakers are looking to be champions once again. But they're not off to the start that you would want them to be right before the All-Star break. Man, what a contrast of games from Monday, which was Luca's debut, which was a crazy debut in and of itself, to the contrast of tonight, where the Lakers go down 131-119, and it really wasn't even as close as what the score said. Chris, what did you make of first Luca's debut, obviously on Monday, but what did you make of how he played tonight and how the Lakers were able to give up so many points? Alex Len did not. New Laker edition did not help out that much. I think it was a minus 19 in the time that he was on the floor. But what do you make? What did you make of the contrast of the two games, man?
Well, first of all, let me go back to Saturday. How disappointed I was after Chaz, you and I were both going to be at that game on Saturday, obviously sitting in two different sections. How disappointed we were that we did not see
We were in
Luka
the building.
Doncic make his debut. We were in the building, the Saturday matinee, and it was awesome to be there. My first time at crypto in a few years, actually. Hard to believe. Well, no, I'm sorry. First time for a Laker game. I think I was there last year for a Clipper game in March. But yeah, it was an electric atmosphere. Austin Reeves put up 45, and then obviously the long-awaited debut on Monday against Utah Jazz. And Luka, you could feel even though Chaz, you and I were watching the game on TV, you could feel that electricity. You could feel the anticipation, the excitement that everybody had. And what people have to remember was Luka Doncic had not played a game since Christmas. This guy had missed 6-7 weeks now, dealing with that calf strain, working hard to get himself back into playing shape. So I think the nerves were there a little bit. LeBron allowed him to be the last player announced in the starting five, and I thought he played well. I thought he played fine,
which was nice.
He looked rusty. He looked rusty, as you would expect, but you flashes of what could be. The way that he is able to body up his opponents, he's never sped up. And once he gets into that mid-range, Chaz, he could do a couple of things. He could take it to the hole. He could knock down a step-back mid-range jumper. He could knock down a step-back three, or he could find Jackson Hayes for a lob. Or that is the beauty of Luka Doncic, is that they have another dynamic playmaker out there go along with LeBron James, who could create for himself as well as create for others. But there's still going to be the rust factor. He still has to get comfortable out there. And, the shooting is not – it's not there right now, but I like the potential of what could be with Luka Doncic donning the purple and gold.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sing his praises tonight because the Lakers didn't even have a 20-point score tonight.
No, you
LeBron had
can't sing it
18,
tonight.
Rui was closest with
No.
19. Luke only had 16, 1 for 5 from free throw. Like his shooting isn't there yet. Wait until he comes around and he starts busting 30-point games and hitting his average. So I'm pretty excited for that. But defensively, the Lakers were a no-show tonight, and Alex Len making his Laker debut, 22 minutes. 4 points, a -9, actually, not 19. But just wasn't a force in the paint. And Jackson Hayes goes out after taking a huge hit to the face. I think his nose might have been broken. They say he has a facial contusion. He might be wearing a mask when he gets back after the All-Star game. I don't know. But what do you think about the rotation with this team? Like, do you think that these Lakers, like, you can see the positive on Monday, and you can see against the exact same team, same people that were in. I mean, obviously Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent were both two players that did not play that did play on Monday. But do you think that this team is going to have a 10-man rotation, or is JJ Redick going to whittle it down a little bit as we get closer to playoffs, or is he just kind of just keeping it open right now because so many guys are playing so good? The Lakers did finally lose the game after, I think, winning 7 or 8 straight. Was it right? Yeah.
I think it was 6, actually, right? I think they had won 6 straight. Their last loss came against the Philadelphia 76ers. So yeah, I think it was 6 in a row. But yeah, no, I mean, look, they've been playing excellent basketball. They finished off that Grammy road trip with a couple impressive wins in New York against the Clippers. This trade goes down, and even while we were waiting for Luka to make his debut on the team, they were beating the snot out of people. And I thought that Golden State game last Thursday was going to be a loss. They ended up smoking them. They smoked Indiana. They smoked Utah on Monday. Tonight, I just think it was a bit of a heat check. Chaz, sometimes when you make 5-6 shots in a row, you believe the 7th one is going to go in too. And tonight, the 7th shot did not go in for the Lakers. I think they were looking ahead to the All-Star break. Their schedule's been a little more condensed. They haven't had as many days off. And, that sometimes that just catches up with you. And I think you pointed it out too. No Dorian Finney-Smith, who's been a key contributor on the defensive end. No Gabe Vincent, who's been a spark plug off their bench. So that was a problem. I also think they have gone through a lot since last time you and I were doing a show. The Mark Williams trade that was, then it wasn't. And now you've got Charlotte complaining. And now it forced the Lakers to go after a guy like Alex Len on the buyout market because you can't make another trade since we're past the deadline. They found multiple issues beyond just his back issues in his physical, and and you don't see this too often. They failed the physical. Therefore, the Rob Pelinka and the Lakers decided to pull that trade off the table. We have not seen something like that in 15 years. Tyson Chandler in 2010, with the turf toe. That was the last thing that happened. So when you talk about Alex Len being bad, I agree. He was awful. But it's like, hey, we were about to get this new Versace jacket, and now we're settling for corduroy or Jordache at the swap meet.
I don't know if
That's kind of
I
where
don't
it
know if the
was.
gap is that big, but I get where you're
Well,
trying to. I get
you know what I
where you're
mean.
trying to go. Here's what I think about that. I think that Rob Pelinka knows that he grossly overpaid and realized that he had more injuries. Mark Williams had more injuries, or it was more of a deeper rooted issue that had to do nothing with his back, which it was the big issue leading up to that. So, yeah, man, I don't know what to make of this team right now, but I do think that they have like they can catch lightning in a bottle, just like the Mavs did last year when they went to the finals. I don't even think that they necessarily need a big man right now. You would like to have one, obviously, but
Well, for depth.
JJ Redick is going to play five out and just let Luka Magic and LeBron James do their thing. And Austin Reeves coming off of a 45-point game on Saturday, doing his absolute thing right now. Got the ball on a string. Didn't play particularly well tonight, which is why they
Well, nobody
lost
played well
against
tonight.
Utah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think this team really needs a break. So a job well done. Job well done going into the All-Star break for the Los Angeles Lakers. Another team, on the other hand, who is also looking forward to the All-Star break, um, is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have not played well at all. They are reeling. They are losing game after game. They gave up another big loss um, in KD's effort for reaching 30,000 points. Like it's crazy to reach that big of a milestone, but then lose the game as well at the same time for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know, Chris. What do you?
Like the Lakers
Well,
2 years ago.
yeah, like every big game that LeBron James reaches, or every big milestone, he's lost. I believe it was like the the game, obviously, when he passed Jordan, when he passed Kobe, when he passed Carl. He lost all those games. But same thing with KD last night when they lose at home against who did they lose to last night? Uh, Memphis.
Memphis. They lost to the
Yes.
Memphis Grizzlies.
What did you make of not only that loss, but what does it mean for KD? Reaching 30,000 points now.
Well, I mean, a milestone's a milestone. And what it shows is not just greatness, but longevity. You have to have both. For people to say, oh, LeBron James only scored 41,000 because he's played the most games. Yeah, that's what that comes down to. The reason why Kareem was the all-time scorer was because he played a 20-year career. LeBron James is in year 22. Kevin Durant, I believe, is in his 18th season. And Kevin Durant is doing something that only 7 other players in the history of the game have done, and that's scored 30,000 points. He's up there with LeBron, Kareem, Karl Malone, Kobe, Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki, and of course Wilt Chamberlain. So yeah, I mean it is a tremendous accomplishment. It's like you said, it sucks that it happens in a losing effort. Phoenix has not been very good this year. They're on the outside looking in. At this point, I think they're going to find a way to get into the play-in, but it has not been a good season. But here's what I'll say about Kevin Durant. No one will ever doubt his greatness as a scorer. One of the most skilled scorers, not just in our generation, Chaz. This is the Slim Reaper, the Durantula, easy money sniper. One of the best mid-range games I've ever seen. One of the most skilled scorers and consistent scorers I've ever seen, no matter where he's been. The issue with Durant has never been his talent. It's never been his scoring ability. It's never even been how clutch he is. It's everything else that comes along with Kevin Durant. It's the whining. It's the
No,
passive-aggressive nature. It's the trade demands. Those are the things that have really bothered people about Kevin Durant. Basically the rabbit ears at times. He has not always shown an ability to block things out. That is the people's problem with Kevin Durant. That being said, that has nothing to do with his accomplishment. I've said this before. If he were to retire tomorrow, he's headed to Springfield the next week, or he should be.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, top 10 small forward all time, Kevin Durant is on that list with Pippen, LeBron, Bird, Dr. J, Elgin, Dominique Wilkins, James Worthy. He is on that list of all-time great small forwards. I just want to point that out. Go
Is he a
ahead.
top 10 player of all time?
No. Top 10 small forward all time, not top 10 player.
Okay. I think he's close. I think he just might be a top 10 player to be honest when it's all said and done. But here's where I want to go with it. Obviously, KD is great, but he's the ticket for the Suns to be able to get better. You're not going to trade Booker. You can't trade Beal because of his no trade clause. So the only other asset that you have to even get off to even, get better is by trading Kevin Durant. So in my opinion, I do
Sure.
think that
Yeah.
he gets traded this summer, depending on how he finishes the season. But given how it's going and how it's gone last year and the year before that, they may even win a first round series. I doubt that they will, but even if they do, I don't think it's going to be enough for Matt Ishbia to hold on to him. Plus, he's only going to have 1 year left after this season on his contract. So I think personally, Kevin Durant gets traded to who? I don't know exactly. I think Pat Riley has long wanted Kevin Durant, along with the rest of the league, obviously, but I don't know where a realistic landing spot for him is. That's not the topic of this conversation. I just want to say that Katie is great, but at the same time, he's going to get traded. I don't, and to be honest with you, I really don't put the whole uh asking or signing with the Warriors. It was weak, but at the same time, because he came through and was the best player on the floor and rose above Steph Curry and LeBron James and everybody that was on the floor in 2017 and 2018, is the reason why I give him credit for those two championships as opposed to just, you know, riding Steph Curry's, coattails and winning championships that way. Obviously, he played with him, but he was still a leader and a finals MVP. And I'm not going to forget those two dagger shots that he hit directly in LeBron James's face at the left wing to seal both championships, I believe, in game 4 and game 5, respectfully. So I actually hold Kevin Durant in higher regard than most other people do, but I still think that it was pretty weak for him to go to the Warriors. But he had to do what he had to do for his situation, which is also why I don't blame him for wanting to go back to the Warriors when turns out that the Warriors about to give up a bunch of assets for, I think it was Jimmy Butler, but then they were going to flip that for Kevin Durant. And then Jimmy Butler was going to end up in Phoenix, but Kevin Durant did not want to go back
I
to
never
Golden State.
I actually agree with you. I don't think what he did, I think the timing was bad because they had just lost a 3-1 series lead and he played badly in game 6 when it should have been a closeout game going back to 2016. And then 3 months later, you join the Hampton Five with the Golden State Warriors, and now you go on to win championships. However, I never blamed him for that, and I agree with you. He was money in all of those playoff runs. You could make an argument they don't beat LeBron James's Cleveland Cavaliers without Kevin Durant's presence. Yeah, they won him. They beat him once with no Kyrie and no Kevin Love. They knew it's going to be tough to beat this guy year in and year out with how we're constructed. So yeah, I don't blame the Warriors for getting Durant, and I don't blame Durant for going there. I was talking about everything else post Golden State. That's what's bothered me. Post Golden State, he's had a lot more criticisms thrown his way, I think, about him as a leader and just how he's left these teams.
It's just
I
one
think it's,
team.
I
It's
think,
one team,
I,
Chris. It was just the Nets. He
but
didn't
even,
ask.
but
He didn't
even
ask
how
out.
he
He didn't
left.
ask out in OKC. He was a free agent. He didn't ask out in Golden State. He was a free agent. He asked out in Brooklyn, rightfully so, in dealing with that whole mess with
Yeah,
Kyrie.
Brooklyn,
And then
yeah.
now he's been in Phoenix. So it's only one team he asked out of. So you making it seem like he asked out so many times with so many different teams. One time, one team, and rightfully so.
What I'm saying is him as a leader, the passive aggressive nature. He probably is a outstanding worker. You don't score 30,000 points and have a career 18 years in. By the way, coming off of a torn Achilles, right in the middle of your prime, and be able to come back and kind of get yourself back to form. That's difficult to do. So no one's talking about his work ethic or anything like that. There's just always been some sort of drama. Okay, yeah, he only asked out of one team, and that's fine, I guess. It just seems like there was always some sort of drama in how he left these other organizations. And maybe it's, like Tom Cruise says in Cocktail, everything ends badly, otherwise it would never end.
Right.
And we could probably write a list of players where it's ended badly. I just think at times there has been just controversy, and he has not always helped that in just how he has said things, how he's addressed the media at times, how he deals with criticism from, old school players or from social media. It always feels like he has to kind of dig back, and you never really needed to do that. You know what I'm saying? You use that stuff as fuel, and I think that's what's bothered me, and I think that's what's bothered others as well. But once again, not denying his talent, not denying what he did on the big stage, 2 finals MVPs, 2 championships. Golden State probably doesn't win both of them without Durant's help. So I never had a problem with that, with the Golden State thing.
They don't win either of them without Durant. So that's why I don't have as much of an issue with it. But I'm not going to use those championships to say that he's greater than somebody else that, like Steph, like he can never be higher on the list than LeBron or Steph Curry or any of those guys. He can't do that. But can he use those championships to prop himself up over somebody like Karl Malone or Larry Bird or Hakeem Olajuwon? Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Charles
Reggie.
Barkley. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number of guys.
Even a guy, you could make an argument. Yeah, I was even going to say Garnett. You could even put him over Garnett for sure. I mean, Garnett only won a ring because he teamed up with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. Granted, it was on the downside of their careers, but still, you could kind of make the argument they kind of started all of this big 3, superstars joining forces and everything, because that wasn't always a thing beforehand.
No.
Where guys were willfully doing that.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. But I mean, we'll see what happens for the rest of his career. I did like how he gave a nod to LeBron because somebody asked him, "Hey, what do you think you're going to make it to 40?" And he's like, "How many more years is that going to take?" And that's assuming I don't get hurt and this and that. So he's like, "Hey, man, that's a testament to LeBron making it to past 40,000."
And he's had a lot of knee injuries too. Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing, to make it to 40. He's been an injury prone player, whether it be in Brooklyn, whether it be in Phoenix. It seems like death taxes and a Kevin Durant sprained knee. You could bet on all 3 every year.
No doubt. Well, one thing else you can bet on is Mavericks fans to be pissed and unhappy, but they get a little bit of a bounce back, possibly. They're down right now to the Golden State Warriors, and I probably should have changed this topic. I thought that they were going to be up by 10, 12 points, but they're down now. So
it's a good finish, though. Yeah,
don't
1-point game.
Do you think Dallas is going to bounce back after this tough week that they're having, between the comments from their owner and losing Luka and AD being out? Still doesn't even have a timetable. They're still trying to determine on if he's going to be able to, if he should have surgery or not. Daniel Gafford's out with a sprained knee for 2 weeks. Derek Lively out with the stretch fracture in his foot.
Yeah.
PJ Washington. What do you make of this team? And do you think that they'll bounce back after them having the toughest week of any team this season so far?
Man, I tell you, I don't know if there's a guy that's had a tougher week than Nico Harrison, general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. That has just been, he's really gone through it. And, look, he stuck his you-know-what on the line to make this deal. You trade away a generational talent like a Luka Doncic, and yeah, you got a star in return in Anthony Davis, granted a little bit older, but Anthony Davis was having an all-NBA season up until this abdominal injury that he re-aggravated in his debut. Chaez, on Saturday, I looked at his game, 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks in 31 minutes. Right before the injury happened, he was having a monster game against the Houston Rockets. So Max Christie has looked really good. So I said it from the beginning. Dallas in the short term has a higher ceiling than the Lakers in the short term. But now with all of the injuries that the Mavs are going through and all the drama that they're going through from the front office to the ownership, fans are upset. There's rumors of death threats going at Nico Harrison's way, which is completely disgraceful and out of line. And fans should never take it that far on Harrison
We always
or
say
the owners
that,
or
but it's just
anybody
the
else.
fact of the matter. I don't understand why we get so all up in arms and and pissed.
It's bad enough we're doing this. It's hold on. I don't want to go here, but I just want to point to that. Bad enough we do this shit in politics. Now we've got to do this stuff in sports too with threats and everything like that.
Yeah, it
Be better,
sucks.
guys. Be an example. Be a fucking example and be better. I'm sorry I have to say that, but get a life. And I know it sucks. We all love Luka Doncic. I know Laker fans went through it when Mitch Kupchak traded Shaq 20 years ago. Shaq was still in the prime of his career. Laker fans were hurting for years because the Miami Heat ended up winning a championship, and the Lakers, it took them a few years to finally get themselves back on track. But I digress. The point of the matter is the Anthony Davis injury is the worst thing that could have happened, not only to the Mavs, but to Nico Harrison.
Yeah,
Had this thing worked out
yeah.
and everyone would have been healthy with him and Kyrie and Klay and Gafford and everything. Now it just looks terrible. And the ship is now sinking in Dallas as far as the fans are concerned, because now it's like, damn, not only do we trade Luka, we got damaged goods in Anthony Davis. Oh my gosh, is this what the next 3-4 years are going to look like? So it just looks terrible for the Mavs. It looks terrible for Nico Harrison. I thought the ownership should have stepped in sooner, but Patrick Dumont, who looks like Jerry Krause on a Slim Fast diet, he's walking through. I don't know what I was
Well,
going with
he's
that
yeah.
joke, but it sounded
Well,
right.
he's
I don't. He was yeah
well. He
yeah.
had he had a
Patrick Dumont's one of the owners.
he had a quite a bit to say. I didn't really like what he said about working hard, which he said if you're a Maverick, then you work hard, like Bird and Jordan and Shaq and all these other guys did. And it's like,
I know.
why'd you throw in Shaq in there? But yeah, I think he's just a little bit out of touch. I think what also sucks is the fact that Mark Cuban thought that he was going to have this big role still in owning the Mavs, even though he's not the majority owner, but he's a minority owner now, and he didn't even know that Luka was getting traded until he was already gone. So it is what it is for those guys, but I think that they'll bounce back. I think that some of these guys will come back. Gafford will come back. AD will come back at some point. Luckily, it's still early enough in the season to where you can come back with like a month to go and still ramp up and get hot, kind of like the Mavs did going into the playoffs, like a month before or a month out. So we'll see what happens with them. I'm really excited to see how the end of this season is going to go, because you have these big trades, you have so many big players change teams, and like we're talking all NBA players. But I think the team, just throwing this random out there, this isn't our topic, but the team that's going to benefit the most outside of the Lakers, obviously, and getting a generational talent like Luca is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those guys are going to be absolutely deep, especially with having DeAndre Hunter now. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see if the Mavs can bounce back. They're up by one against Golden State with less than a minute left right now. So if they can pull out this big win at home, Kyrie is going absolutely berserk. I think he has 39, 40 points right now. So pretty good game.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, that's the problem, though. You're relying on guys who are have proven to be unreliable, not necessarily from a talent standpoint, but from a health standpoint. And I think that's what makes Mavs fans nervous is the fact that, we're on the last third of the season. And if we don't get some of these guys back healthy in a competitive Western Conference, it's going to be a very steep road to get to where we want to get to. And this is what Dumont said specifically toward Luka Doncic. If you look at the greats in the league, the people you and I grew up with, Jordan, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard. With Shaq, that's a little questionable, just throwing that out there, every day with a singular focus to win. And if you don't have that, it doesn't work. You shouldn't be a part of the Dallas Mavericks. Here's the only pushback I'll say on Dumont. Okay, so let's say Luka didn't work hard, right? The guy led your team to 2 of the last 3 Western Conference Finals. The guy led the league in scoring last year. The guy led your team to the finals and came up a few wins short of a championship. The guy has made every situation work. The coaching changes, the stars that you brought in, he has been an attraction. There's a reason why Klay Thompson wanted to sign with the Dallas Mavericks over the Lakers this season. And now, ironically enough, Luka's now in LA. So I'm sure Klay is like, geez, if only I would have listened to my dad, right? But that's neither here nor there. You have the business aspect, the fans, the merch, the concessions, everything like that. The guy is box office. And yet it's, oh, well, he's not working hard. Look, the conditioning, okay, fine. That's something to be addressed. But to make a drastic decision like that, you better get this next thing right. Because if you come up short, and worse than that, Chaez, if the Lakers end up winning a championship with Luka before you guys win a championship, oh my gosh.
They will.
Dallas,
every single time the Lakers have made a trade like this, they always come up before the team that they trade with does. It's
except for Shaq. Except for the Shaq trade. That was an exception with it. You know, Shaq won in 06, Lakers won in 09. Anyway, my point being,
all right, go ahead.
My point, I'm just saying this. When you have new owners coming in, because I still think this was above Nico Harrison's pay grade. At the end of the day, they didn't want to pay Luka Doncic. Let's just call that what it is. Just like Miami didn't want to pay Jimmy Butler. So to ease the transition of, well, why'd you trade him? Why'd you trade him? You attach these narratives. And some of them are justified. In this particular case, I could push back on that narrative and say, even if you didn't like his conditioning, even if you like his defense or complaining with the refs, the guy still was having individual and team success over the last 3 years. So sometimes you just got to be like the Lakers were with Shaq. You know, oh, he's not working hard enough. I got hurt on company time. I healed on company time. But the guy's still putting up 36, 15.
Right, but you didn't
kind of have to let that
you didn't have
slide.
enough people on your team to be able to offset that. Like a guy like Kyrie and Gafford and Lively, the team wasn't good enough, so you needed to get better. So you have to roll the dice and take a chance, kind of like Masai Ujiri did with Kawhi, and it hit. Just seems like in this case, it probably isn't going to be for Nico Harrison, but we'll obviously get into this topic a lot more over the course of the rest of the season. The Mavericks are going to be a team that we talk about quite a bit. One team that's not getting as much shine or dimmed light, I should say, and rightfully so, is Philadelphia 76ers. They lose the worst loss for them, I think, of the year to a Toronto team who's actively tanking, it seems like, even though they gave Brandon Ingram $120 million over the next 3 years on an extension this week. Isn't Joel Embiid losing support in Philly because he's losing games? He had that play at the end of the game against Toronto where he passed up a three, tried to go to the basket, turned the ball over. He's in and out of the lineup. I guess the word is that he's going to need another surgery, and he hasn't been right all season. Chris, do you think that he's losing support in Philadelphia? And if so, do you see them trading him kind of like they did Luka in Dallas, or does Joel Embiid have a little bit more margin for error, I should say?
Okay, so you want to talk about Embiid first. Yeah, the Sixers are 20-34. They lost by 4 tonight to the Brooklyn Nets, who, by the way, they've been coming up with some like stunning wins. Last week they beat the Houston Rockets. Yeah, no Maxey, no Embiid, and Paul George, by the way. Oh my goodness, 2 points in 37 minutes tonight. 2 points, and yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a bad return. His last, 5-6 games, look at his numbers. I don't think he's cracked 20 points in over a week. I mean, Sixers have just been a mess this season. And I think, honestly, as bad as Paul George has been, I think the issue has been Embiid and how he set the tone for this season. Oh, I don't really want to play. If it were up to me, I'd never play back-to-backs. Bro, what are you doing? Seriously, even if you believe that, there are things you just don't say, especially in a city like Philadelphia, a hardworking, blue-collar, sports-crazed town who, if nothing else, the reason why they loved Allen Iverson so much wasn't just because he was immensely talented. The guy worked his tail off. He was available every game. He played 40-plus minutes a night. And you're just kind of like out there. You're coming off this extension. And it's like, I understand you're dealing with knee problems. But, man, you have given the vibe that you don't care this year.
I don't.
And I think, no, I'm saying he's given the vibe. I'm not saying he doesn't care. I'm saying he's given that vibe of not caring.
I don't think he's given that vibe.
That's been the
I think his
problem.
body is failing him, Chris. I think he just physically can't do what his contract says that he's supposed to do on a night in and night out basis. That's like asking a coach to run a certain defensive scheme when he doesn't have the personnel to do so. It just cannot be done. And for him, this is just a lost year, I think. And as a result, he is losing support in Philly because of the way that the perception is the reality for fans. Because when they don't see you on the court, when they see you joking around about stuff that doesn't need to be joked around about, and when you are on the court, you're not as productive as you once were, especially in a city like Philadelphia. Those are the reasons. Not because he comes off like he doesn't care. He just has no results and has no leg to stand on to be able to say, hey, continue to support me. Trust the process. No, well, the process is over now. You still haven't been, you've won an MVP. We saw you give maximum effort for that MVP and get to the playoffs and get absolutely nothing. So I loved his effort last year because he did all of what he did in that Knicks series with just one leg, and he's still not right. But then why did you play in the Olympics? If I was a fan, those would be the reasons of the Sixers. Those would be the reasons why I would have the questions, not for the reasons that you stated, in my opinion.
I still think there's that comment set a bad precedent. It set a bad tone. Because now it's like, well, how hurt is this guy? Or is this guy just kind of like going through the motions and trying to do, you know what I mean? The Sixers, to me, remind me of the 2022 Lakers where they were injured. The Westbrook thing was not working. I think those three guys collectively that year played 21 games together. And I think this big three in Philadelphia, they're on pace to probably only play 20-something games together. So we haven't really even been able to see what this team can do whole for chunks at a time. It's just been in a bunch of sporadic moments. But yeah, I think they are starting to turn on Embiid a little bit because they haven't reached the conference finals in the Joel Embiid era. They've had a lot of disappointing first round and second round exits. I think people are burned out with the injuries and whatnot. And I think there is a turn when you're not only losing, but now you're not available. And it's like, well, what are we paying this guy for? I mean, let's be honest. When Joel Embiid's healthy, he's a top 5 player in the world. Top 5 player in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? No one is that. Once again, just like I said about Durant, no one is doubting the talent. It's everything else. When I saw Tyrese Maxey bust the Lakers' ass 2 weeks ago, I said, Maxey, Paul George and Joel Embiid could learn something from Tyrese Maxey because this dude plays with so much heart, so much determination, so much fire. Right, but Paul George and Embiid, they're just out there at this point, almost looking like they're collecting the check.
Right. When you're on your second or third, everybody just doesn't have it like that, man. And that's why some guys are at the tip top and the cream of the crop, and some guys are just known for being good players. Great players in the regular season, good players when they really needed to be, got 2 or 3 contracts, collecting a check, and that's it. I think guys just physically can't do sometimes what they thought that they could do, like Paul George. Paul George just is, man, an absolute heist in Philadelphia. Yeah. That is going to be he has 3 more years left on that deal. That's going to be they're going to have to trade. The Philadelphia 76ers are probably going to have to trade Tyrese Maxey just to get out of the hole of Paul George and Joel Embiid because of their non-productive.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Yeah, those guys.
They're stuck. And honestly, I don't think Daryl Morey is going to trade either 3 of them. You know, he needs something to sell. He loves what Maxey is doing. They're going to have to just ride this out and keep doing what they're doing unless you can find someone who could take one of those contracts. But guess what, Chaz? You're going to have to take a bad contract in return.
Yeah. Hopefully it's expiring.
Both Dallas with AD and Philadelphia with Embiid, they're almost in the same spot at this point because Anthony Davis, I believe, has 3 or 4. That extension takes place next year. Is that right?
62 a year. Yeah. No, last year. last year.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
it started
started last
last
year.
year.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's got he's got 2 more years left on that. Whereas Embiid, I think the extension takes place next season, or did it take place this season? I think
Next
it's next
season, I
season,
believe.
right?
Yeah.
Next
But
season.
he's
Yeah.
just he's
So,
still he's still
man,
making
but
50, 55, 60. Yeah.
it's just a shame because we had so much expectations for the Sixers. I thought Embiid was going to be healthy and everything, and it's just the not available, not being available. You could almost throw the nickname "street clothes" at Embiid right now
Man.
because he just has not been
Yeah,
available.
he hasn't.
Seriously,
Think about the teams that have won.
yeah,
Think about the teams that are going to win. The well-managed teams, even when shit goes awry. The Lakers in 2020, the Warriors in 22, the Celtics, the Nuggets. Like these teams are well run, regardless of what players they have out on the court. Talent wins out, but management and your ownership really means a whole lot when it comes time to winning big time in a league like the NBA. So I think there's only going to be a handful of teams that are going to be eligible to win it. This year is actually more teams than most, but I really think it's going to come down to LA, Boston, New York, Cleveland, um, OKC,
Denver's playing really
and,
good ball. 55, by the way, double nickel for Jamal Murray
and
tonight.
Denver.
And by the way, the Mavs are going to probably win that game.
Mavs have
42 for
Mavs
Kyrie.
have won. They won by 4, 111, 107 in a huge bounce back
Yeah.
game after having a terrible week. Man,
Max Christie has looked fantastic, by the way. Shout out to Max Christie, man. He has just been outstanding. He's continuing whatever he found with the Lakers. He has carried that over to Dallas, and I hope that continues. That kid deserves everything he's got coming, and hopefully it's all good
and then
things.
some. Yeah, yeah, he's playing awfully good. Well, I d- I need Luca to come back out of the All-Star break, all guns blazing. I need this Laker team
Yeah.
right out the gate doing good because I want to see them in a top 3 seed. I want to see Luca and LeBron in the playoffs, not the play-in. I want to see them in a full series. I want to see how they do ultimately. Who knows? They might even face the Mavericks maybe in the first round if the Mavericks can get it together. But that's a long ways off. We'll see what happens
Yeah. Tough
post
loss
All Star
tonight.
break. Thank you guys for tapping in with us on another great edition of the Outlet Forum. You guys know where to follow us on Instagram at the Outlet Forum and on Twitter at the Outlet Forum. You guys know where to follow me as well at Chaz Pearson on Instagram and Twitter. Chris, where can they follow you, my man?
Could always follow me on Twitter. I got it right there at Chris_Camelo on X. I'm on Instagram, CCamelo1. Check out our YouTube channel at The Outlet Forum and our social media pages at The Outlet Forum on Instagram and X as well. And Chaz, that 30,000 point that KD got on a free throw last night, 7,000 views. Just that little clip I reposted. So we got good content on there occasionally. So we try to keep it up day to day. But a lot of good stuff happening. We got baseball season starting, spring training. Pitchers and catchers have already reported. Dodgers are looking good. They got some injuries, but they also added Kike and Clayton Kershaw. So the band is almost back together, Chaz, for the Dodgers going into the 25 season.
Going into the 25 season, I'm excited for spring training. Cannot wait to go to Dodger games.
Yeah.
Was gonna put up a quick comment about KD, but
Good.
all right,
Yeah.
since we're on the way out,
Yeah, we'll close out on that.
Mark
Yeah.
says a good friend of mine says I love KD. I'm from Seattle, huge KD fan because we drafted him, but that was garbage of him going to Golden State. Fans clearly still holding that against him. Like I said, I hate that about the new NBA. Jordan Barkley, all those guys would have never teamed up. It's the new NBA though. Look, man, I get it. That's like I said, guys are still just hurt about that, but it just is what it is. Go to where you can win, and guys won't hold it against you in the long run, way down the road. Unless you're Mark, you might still hold it against KD. We'll get out of here on that note. Thank you guys for tapping in.
Yep.
Chris, any last words?
No, I think he's right. I mean, but you can't. This is why it's hard to compare players from different eras because the rules were different, the money was different, the exposure was different, how players were different. You know what I'm
Different
saying? Like
time.
this is now everybody's pals. It's a different time. Nobody really hates each other anymore. I mean, it's just, even as far as like 10, 15 years ago, we loved the Lakers Celtics with Kobe versus the big three and Gasol versus Garnett because there was still like some of that going at each other. Now it's evaporated. That was the death rattle right there in 2010. So, Mark, I feel you, but this is where we're at, man. We can't go back into time unless you can call Dr. Emmett Brown.
Well, on that note, we'll see you guys. I'll hop into my time machine. Hopefully, fast forward to next Wednesday when we're talking about a good All-Star game and a good dunk contest and a good three-point shootout. I can only hope for the best, but we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tapping in, and to another great week in the All-Star game.